On this season of Mat Wars King of the Mat, we bring you the same fast-paced grappling action, only this time with a twist. Our champion won't know who his match is against or if it's gi or no gi, but there's even more at stake. Whoever wins won't just win the match, but will win the right to continue his reign as Mat Wars King of the Mat.
Hello everybody, welcome Mat Wars audience. I'm Rob Biernacki. If you've never heard of me, I am Matt Kwan's coach. You've probably been watching Matt Kwan this season. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. We're going to give you a conceptual breakdown of some of Matt Kwan's matches and moments in those matches where you've seen success and failure. And we're going to try to give you our take, our Island Top Team's conceptual style take on why the movements worked or failed. And hopefully you get some good use out of that. I'd love some feedback. If you have it after you watch this episode, please let me know if this changed the way that you view jiu-jitsu. So please enjoy the breakdown to follow.
Okay, let's get into this analysis. So you're going to see Matt approaching Micah's guard here, and in the engagement phase, Matt manages to get his leg in between and is trying to backstep pass. He's got dead toes right now, so that's compromising his ability to absorb and generate force. So he's having to settle down to his knee a little bit and recompose his posture here. As he goes to backstep, you can see here Micah is controlling the range by using a frame. If he didn't use that frame, Matt would be able to backstep through. So there you can see that. Now Matt makes an error here by hopping back over to the other side and exposing a couple of levers on his body. You're going to see coming up right here where Mike is able to access Matt's ability to base. His right arm is not in contact with the ground. His left foot is not in contact with the ground. So his base is totally compromised, and Micah can choose the direction that he goes in. Micah chooses to pursue the arm triangle here. So now we're going to go through what Matt does to defend this arm triangle and what Micah does wrong. Matt does something really good here. He prevents the internal rotation of his shoulder, and he's controlling Micah's posture. Micah needs to generate force into Matt's shoulder to internally rotate it. You notice how Micah's got dead toes. That makes it very difficult for him to push forward with as much force as he could possibly generate, whereas Matt is bridging as hard as he can, strengthening his neck and opening up his shoulder. He's going to fix his structure here, and because Micah has dead toes, and you can see there's a bit of a twist in his spine, so his base and his posture are compromised, while Matt is recomposing his structure to bring his limbs back into proper alignment. He's going to be able, by fixing his alignment, to get his elbow back inside, recompose his guard by inverting his hips and creating a frame with his spine and getting back to a proper defensive alignment with his guard. There you go. So Micah's still dead toes, so it's compromising his ability to generate force. You can see how these little alignment battles are actually creating the results that you get when you either succeed or fail at a technique. And now we're going to start to see the sequence that leads to the finish with a bit of an extension of the arm that Matt manages to catch. We're going to go into a little bit greater detail on this in a second, but Matt's basically utilizing a structure break that was caused by a posture break to create the omoplata. He's building his base up and shifting his hips away, which is creating kind of a pendulum effect. And Mike is going to sit down to try to roll through, but because of the control that Matt's exerting, the roll through fails, and Matt ends up getting control of both shoulders. He's going to utilize that control to transition to a choke finish. Micah does a really good job here of absorbing the pressure from the omoplata, but unfortunately, he's only got one arm to defend against Matt's two arms, which is usually going to be a losing battle. And so without the ability to rotate in either direction or put a 2-on-1 style defensive grip in place, the finish becomes inevitable. So great job by Matt here, and a valiant effort by Micah. He did a really great job defending that. Now we can see bit by bit what happens here. Matt grabs Micah's neck and threatens an armbar, controlling posture. Micah slightly extends his right arm here. There you go. So Matt is accessing a lever to Micah's shoulder, and he's internally rotating his shoulder, which Micah can either stay here and absorb the pressure into the elbow and get arm locked, or he does the right thing. He turns his shoulder even more, giving Matt the omoplata. Matt continues to control posture here. You can see how Matt had his hand behind Micah's neck until his leg replaced it. Without that, Micah would have been able to posture out. This is especially evident in no-gi. Again, here Matt is trying to build his base while Micah tries to access the lever of Matt's right leg. However, Micah's still dead toes, so he's having trouble generating as much force as he could. He starts to sit his hip down. Matt adjusts, generating base with his right arm. Okay, so we're having a base battle here. Matt continues to attempt to create more base to his right, while Micah is trying to find his base so that he can generate force to roll. Fortunately, because he's still dead toes, he's not able to generate as much force in this roll as he would have otherwise, and so Matt is able to use the roll to gain rotational control. You can see here, Matt's got Micah's right shoulder controlled at the lever with Matt's legs, and he's got his left shoulder controlled with an S grip. So because of this rotational control, Micah can't turn left or right. What he's going to be looking to do here is generate base with his feet and try to drive over to relieve some of the pressure on his shoulder. However, Matt does a really good job of adjusting to the side, there you go, compromising Micah's base in the direction that he wants to generate. As a result, with a 2-on-1 attack on Micah's neck, Micah's unable to use both of his arms, obviously, to defend himself because of the omoplata configuration. So he's left with no effective base in the sense that he can't generate base in the direction he needs to. And he's got compromised structure because he can't use his limbs as efficiently as he would like. You can see Matt using a hook to deny base. And his posture is compromised because his neck is extended and he's forced to tap to the submission. Anytime you have a 3-0 base posture structure alignment, you're going to have a huge problem. And after this sweet star wipe, Matt is going to attempt a butterfly sweep on Ryan Kitchen, which allows us to talk about force vectors. You see how the force vector is at roughly a 45-degree angle from Matt. He's got live toes, and Ryan's base is not able to absorb that force being generated. This allows Matt to complete the sweep. Anytime you're not able to match, your base is not able to match the force vector, you're going to have a serious problem. So Matt's going to switch to a technical mount here as Ryan turns, creating a frame versus lever battle. He's using his right arm to frame Ryan's left arm, again creating rotational control, so it makes it very difficult for Ryan to turn. This is going to allow him to start attacking that lever, primarily with a Kimura grip, and then he's going to transition into a reverse armbar as Ryan straightens his arm, which he's supposed to do. So he's doing the right thing, trying to fix his structure. And while Ryan is trying to fix his structure, Matt is trying to break it, taking advantage of the opportunity there to take his left shin over Ryan's right bicep. This gives him even more powerful rotational control because he's temporarily controlling both levers to Ryan's shoulders. As you can see here, Matt is trying to work on that reverse or razor arm lock. He needs to generate base to lift his hips to do that. While he does that, Ryan's head slips out. This allows him to fix his posture and start to recompose his base, attempting to change the alignment equation back in his favor. And what you'll see now is how Matt breaks his alignment to finish the submission. So the first part of the equation is going to be posture. Matt presses his leg against the side of Ryan's head, breaking the alignment of his neck. The next thing is going to be structure. Obviously, Ryan's arm is extended, unable to fix the alignment equation there. And then the last part is base. Ryan's dead toes, and he doesn't have the ability to match the force vector that Matt is generating. Therefore, he is forced to tap. Again, 3-0, huge problem. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for a shameless plug. Totally check it out. Change your jiu-jitsu.